Welcome back to CRC's Garage, and in this episode we are back to working on the Neon. And if you watched last episode, you'll know that means we finally found a parts car at a reasonable price that'll hopefully get us the parts we need to finish up this car and get it back on the road. So let's go over the parts car and show you what I've been doing with it. So here's the parts car that I picked up. It's a 2005 Dodge Neon, so it's the same year as the silver one that we have. I've been gutting the interior to get the heater box out because we needed the heater box. That was what the big thing I was waiting on to get the silver Neon back together. But let me show you this car. It's not worth putting any money into. The rockers are completely rusted out on both sides. So it's just not worth it. It is a parts car. But I did, like I said, I got the heater box out of. I should be able to combine both my heater boxes to make one good one. I got a new door out of it because there's no rust under the door. Thank goodness. So my car, someone backed into the door here and put a dent in it. It might be able to be worked out, but it's just as easy to start with a new door and just pit it with some paint. So I got a new door out of it, heater box, a radio. I wanted to keep the OEM radio. So yeah, we got good parts car. Hopefully I could get most of the stuff I need. The only thing I wish I could have gotten off this car was the cat whiskers or the belt line molding, whatever you want to call it. Mine's completely fallen apart like this one is. This one's actually worse shape than mine. I have to see if anyone's found a solution for this because they don't make these anymore for this car. So my only option is either used or, I don't know. I have to look, like I said, I'll look into it, see if someone else has came up with a solution to fix that. But that'd be the only other thing that I didn't get off this car that I needed for mine. But it is an automatic. It would have been nice to find a manual car so I have a spare transmission. I got a spare motor though. I think that's pretty much it. Let's go over the heater box because that was the big thing that's holding me up. So here's the two heater boxes. Mine, the door broke. This one appears to be good. So I'm going to take pieces off of both boxes and combine them into one good box. Some retaining stuff is broken. It wasn't that big of a deal, but since I have another box I can pull parts off of, we'll combine the two halves of the best pieces to make one good one. Before I started ripping apart the blue car, I was checking out the dials and seeing what works, what doesn't. It sounded like there was a vacuum leak under the dash, so it was either the controller for the blend door here, the knob on the dash, or the I can't think of the name. That thing. You apply vacuum. It's a piston. You apply vacuum to one side, and it'll pull the rod in or out. So it's either this was leaking, but I have one good one because I know this one was working on the silver car. But yeah, now we can move forward. I'll go through, replace the heater core in one of them with a new one. Make sure everything else is good. Take the best pieces off of both boxes. Make one good box. And we'll finally put it back in the car. And we can start putting the interior back together and getting that buttoned up. The door, like I said, so you can see, it's a hazy day. So I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. But it's dented here. So yeah, I got a nice door out of it. And yeah, there's the rubber. Mine's actually in quite a bit better shape than that car, so we might just have to keep running that for now until I find a solution to fix or replace that. But we can finally move forward, get this thing interior back together, and start working on the other stuff. So I think that's about it for now. I'll update you when I start taking apart the two boxes and putting that back together. Alright, so first things first, disassembling the heater box here. There's 4 screws. You need to take this off first. This holds the door that changes where the air is coming into the heater box. So either the external air from the cowl, or if you have it on recirculate, it's going to close the flapper and then recirculate air that's already in the cabin. So that's what this housing holds. But there's 4 screws in each corner. 1, 2, 3, and then this one's slotted, so that one you just need to loosen. But you take those 4 screws out, pull that off, and then there's 2 more screws, well, 3 more screws that are hidden. Looks like someone was in this heater box before and they didn't put that screw back, but there should be 1, 2, 3. That one you wouldn't get to with this housing in place also. So that needs to come off first. Then we're going to go around, take out all the screws, and then before you can separate the box, I'll show you what's next. But let me take out those screws and we'll get to that. Alright, so now that all the screws are out, there's 2 clips that need to be popped off. One on, this is a side that would be against the firewall. Here's your heater core tubes that would be poking through the firewall and going to the engine. There's 2 clips you got to take off. This one here, and then there's another one buried underneath the foam. So you could probably find something to replace the foam with, but I couldn't find a rebuild kit specific for this heater box. So you want to take your time. You want to take a razor blade and cut the foam in half along the parting line of the 2 pieces. So you can see there's the parting line. You want to cut the foam, the parting line's down here. But buried in here, there should be another metal clip there. So if you're taking it apart for the first time, it looks like it's between these 2 pieces of foam. Whoever was in this heater box last time didn't put that clip back in. So if you're taking yours apart for the first time, mind that clip. You have to pop that off. And then after you cut the foam, you should be able to separate the 2 halves. So just gently work your way around, pulling apart the 2 halves. If you missed a screw, you won't be able to pull it apart, and you'll have to find that screw. But the 2 halves, I missed a screw. There we go. It was just snug. The 2 halves should pull apart. Here we got the upper half, and then here's the lower half. So that's all there is to pulling it apart. So now we'll clean up the one that we're going to use. The AC, it's not a radiator, but you know what I mean. The one that was originally in my car, the AC worked great, so I know there was no leaks in it, so I'm going to reuse that one. I'll save this one for a spare. But the heater core I know leaked. I'll show you that in a second where it was leaking. So I got a new one from Rock Auto, and we're going to replace that in the heater box that we're going to use. So we'll do that next. So here's where the original heater core failed. It just corroded through the copper. Now I'm wondering if that's why the head gasket went, that it was leaking out the heater box. And my sister was the one who had the car before me, and it just got low on coolant. She didn't notice in time, and that's why the head gasket went, because it overheated. But she doesn't remember anything. So anyways, but yeah, that's why it went. It just corroded through the copper there, and that's where it was leaking. But the interesting, the original one used copper tubes inside the heater core, and the aftermarket one's just all aluminum. So a little bit cheaper than copper, that's why. So that's why it leaked, and that's where our leak was coming from, was there. So now we'll put the new one in and start putting the heater box all back together. So I reused the old gasket that goes against the firewall here. Put that back on, and then that just drops right into place. And then like I said, I reused the original one. I cleaned it up the best I could without damaging the fins. There was some dirt on it just because there's no cabin air filter on these cars, so it just naturally is going to suck in some dirt. It accumulated down in the corner for the most part there, but I cleaned that off. Drop that back in. When you're doing so, don't forget that gasket's got to go back on there. And the doors, I'm gonna put a little bit of silicone grease. They used white lithium grease, but I don't have any of that laying around, but this should be okay. This is where the doors, the blend doors pivot here. I'll put a dab of grease in there just to lubricate those before I put the lid back on. But I think it's ready to put the lid back on and seal this thing back up. So as you're pushing the two halves together, I think you can see in there, you just gotta make sure that the doors, the blend doors snap into their holes. As you push the two halves together, that one's gonna, I gotta move that one a little bit, just get it in. And then the one back there's only two, well, three. And then the one right here, it pivots in between, or the pivots in between the two case halves. So as you push it together, make sure you're taking your time and making sure those doors snap in place to where they need to go. But you should be able to just close it up and put the screws in to hold the two halves together. There's 19 screws that hold the two case halves together. So once you get the 19 screws back in, you put the two clips back on, one there, one there. I'm just gonna check, make sure the blend doors work, so they're not in a bind or anything. That one works, that one works. That's really the only two that are controlled by the cable. And then that one, you push on the cable here and you keep pushing and it opens up that one. So everything works, nothing's in a bind. So the two case halves should be back together. All we have to do is put that housing back on, put the blower motor back in on the bottom here, and then she's ready to install in the car. The only other thing I'm going to do is, I know my solenoid here was working, so I'm going to swap out to my original one. This one's off the blue car, so I'm going to swap that out. I think it works. I checked it with a Mighty Vac, and it seems to be working fine, but I'll save it as a spare. But we'll get that back in, swap that out, and then I think she's ready to go back in the car. Unless I'm missing something. I don't think I am. So yeah, let me do that and then we'll go install it in the car. So just lift it up and wiggle it in place. You're trying to get those, there's 3 studs on the backside of the heater box that go through the firewall. You got to get those lined up, and then there's 1 stud on the firewall here that will help, you can rest it on to help hold it in place while you get the screws in place. But the only thing holding it in is the 1 stud here. There's a bolt that goes through here, and then these 3 speed nuts are the ones that go through on those studs that poke through the firewall, and that's what holds it in. Get those on and she's back in place, and we're ready to start putting the interior back together finally. So I think that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. The heater box is in. This thing, I'm going to clean it up, get that dust off, and wipe it down with some Armor All just to help protect the plastic. And all that does is snap into there, and that clip goes into that clip on the firewall there. And that's what holds the defrost vent in place. So I thought about taking the AC completely out of the car, but I live in Tennessee, East Tennessee. It's what? May. Yeah, geez, forgetting. Months blend together. It's only May and it's humid, so it would make it just miserable to drive down here in the south. So we're gonna keep the AC. I'd like to get some 4-corner scales and scale the car, or take it to somewhere and scale the car, because we might be near that minimum weight, so it really wouldn't do us any good to take it out regardless. So but I think that's pretty much gonna, like I said, wrap up this video. Heater box is in. I could start installing the interior and everything. That was the big thing holding us up from moving on with the car. But yeah, so my polyurethane bushings finally came in, so I think that's going to be the next video on the car, is rebuilding the front control arms, or front lower control arms for the car with polyurethane. And so like that'll be in the next video. So yeah, please subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.